Today the Church celebrates the memorial of St. John of the Cross, Carmelite friar, priest, a mystic, a theologian, a poet, a doctor of the Church, but crucially also a reformer of the Church, particularly a reformer of the Carmelite order, the religious family of which he was part. He was born in 1542 and joined the Carmelite order. At the age of 25, he was ordained priest. And soon he put himself to work in reforming a religious family which had its problems. Particularly, they had started to follow a rule, which was a rule of life, which was, more lax than what it was intended to be at the beginning. So he tried to reform the Carmelite order along with Saint Teresa of Avila in a way that would lead the friars and the nuns to a deeper spiritual life, a greater sense of self-denial, of renunciation of the world, and crucially, to a deeper union with God, and better equipped, in the case of friars, to the preaching of the gospel and the evangelization around their monasteries. You would think that all these things are really good, but there were some in his religious family, in the Carmelite order, who opposed him quite fiercely. They grew comfortable to the way of life, with the way of life to which they were accustomed. So they opposed Teresa and they opposed John. For John, opposition became physical as well. He was basically kidnapped by some of his friars, and he was imprisoned in a monastery. And for a long time, he spent his life in solitude, in a tiny cell, and with a very small diet of bread and water and scraps of salted fish. Well, you would think this could be disastrous. And yet at this time, St. John produced the best of his poetry and began to write amazing works of theology and amazing mystical works. He escaped from prison and managed to reform the Carmelite order along with Teresa. And in his life, we see someone that really did as Jesus said, to take up his cross and follow him. Regardless of the hardship he endured, of imprisonment, or maltreatment, he carried on with the vocation that God had asked him to follow, to reform his church. Perhaps there are things that we too should do in order to pick up our cross and follow after Jesus. Quite often, the passage of the Gospel from Luke that we have heard today has been used to warrant all sorts of outlandish things. Well, no. To pick up our cross, as Jesus says, as John of the Cross did, is simply to follow our vocation from God to the end. And our common vocation is to be Christians. So what is the cross that Jesus is asking you to pick up and to follow after him? Maybe it is reconciliation with friends or estranged family members. Maybe it is to, be more helpful to our neighbors, more helpful in society, or maybe more charitable giving, or maybe simply Be faithful with your daily prayer and attendance to Mass. There's no easy answer that would fit everyone. You have to work out what is Jesus asking you to do, in the same way that John did. The last thing I wanted to say about John was the fact that he was a great evangelist. So you would think that he lived in Spain, you would think the 16th century Spain, everyone knew about the faith. Well, when he started preaching outside his monastery, he quickly found out that a lot of people didn't know about Jesus. They sort of knew, they sort of were loosely Christians, but they didn't know about the life, the love, the death and resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. So he set about to do this, to evangelize the people around these monasteries. We too can learn from this. Our society is loosely Christian, but people do not know the love of Christ for their lives. So we can share our faith with them, and crucially, we can endeavor to learn more about Jesus, about the Church and the saints. May St. John of the Cross help us in all these undertakings.